Hey guys, Camille Lambert, field agronomist with Beck's Hybrids. I'm currently at the PFR farm in Henderson, Kentucky, and I'm standing in front of our corn termination study. Every year, one of the worst operations a farmer makes is making the decision to replant. It's a really emotional decision, and sometimes you don't know if you made the right decision or the wrong decision. And when you do decide to replant, what do you replant with? So there are a couple things that you need to consider before making that replant call. But I want to show you guys several different termination methods that you can use if you want to make a replant. First question and most important question, what was your original planting population? What was your desired stand? And what kind of a stand do you currently have? Because a lot of times you'll get out and once you start evaluating a stand, it may or may not be better than you thought it was. So on 30-inch corn, we want to make sure that we measure 17 feet 5 inches. And what I usually do is I count on both sides and then I'll go out another row and count again, just so you have more numbers and so you can get a better average. And another good thing I like to do, because your eye always goes to the very best spots and the very worst spots in the field, take a hat or a frisbee or heck even your tape measure as long as you can find it and just kind of pitch it. And wherever it lands, take a stand count right there, because then you're going to get more of an average and less of the best and the worst case. So if you've got kind of a uniform stand, maybe your stand is a little bit lower than you would like, but it is uniform and those plants are healthy, that's another really big consideration in your overall determination of if you need to replant or if you're going to keep it. The next question you need to ask yourself is, what was your original planting date and when is your potential replanting date? If you have a low stand count, maybe somewhere between 20 and 25, but you planted the very 1st of April or that first 15 days of April, you've got about 90% yield potential right there, even with a lower stand count. And now, we're getting into the first week of June. Even if you replant at 34,000 and you get all of them up, so you've got between 30 and 34,000 plants per acre, you've only got about 75 to 80% yield potential. So an early planted corn crop with a lower stand is still most often going to do better than a later planted corn crop with a higher amount of plants out there. The last question you need to ask yourself, and this is a really important part of it, is what caused your original stand loss? You don't want to get out there, replant, and then have the same thing reoccur. So you want to make sure that you know why your original stand failed, so that you know next time what you can do better. All right, so you've gone over all those questions and you're still ready to terminate your crop. What now is your best option to get a really good control so you can go out with a clean slate? I always like to give people numbers. So if you don't get a good control and you are left with 5,000 plants per acre, you are still looking at a little bit yield loss for your new crop, because those plants that survived are going to be bigger and more aggressive, and they're going to take water and nutrients away from your new crop, thus pulling some yield potential away. So the first treatment over here is tillage, and a lot of times you'll have to make at least 2 passes of tillage, because a young corn crop, the growing point is underneath that soil surface until about V6. So if you just kind of gradually cut the top off, that plant's going to start to grow back. So we need to make sure we have a very aggressive tillage tool, and a lot of times go perpendicular to the rows that were planted so that you can actually get in there and uproot the plant so that they don't start growing back. Our second treatment here is Liberty or glufosinate. So this option is very important to know your traits. You need to make sure that you know that your corn is either non-GMO or it's just Roundup ready, because if you get out here and you spray Liberty Link corn with Liberty, you're not going to affect it and it'll just be a waste of your time. If you've got non-GMO corn, you can get out there with Roundup, and that's a really good way to control it. So you just want to make sure that you know what your traits are before you go out and start spraying. Our third treatment, and this was only sprayed 4 days ago, so you still see a little bit of green, is Select Max or Clethodim with 3 pounds of AMS or a good crop oil. You want to make sure you use about 1% volume to volume on crop oil, But the important thing to note with clethodim is that there is a 1-week plant back restriction. So if you're going to spray and you want to plant immediately, this may not be the best option for you, but this is a pretty good option. The last 2 treatments of the study both include gramoxone at 40 ounces. So this one right here is gramoxone with 3 ounces of Syncor or metribuzin. This is probably your best option if you want to go plant immediately. So you want to spray today and then go plant very quickly. This is a really good option. And then we have 40 ounces of gramoxone by itself with about 1% volume to volume on crop oil. And it's important to note that gramoxone is a contact herbicide. So whatever it touches is what it's going to kill. It's not going to move throughout that plant. So you want to make sure that you get really good coverage if you're just using gramoxone. So it's been about 4 days. I'm gonna come back out here in a couple more days once it's been 1 week, and I'm going to actually get out and do a stand count of the plants that survived. So I'm going to evaluate it 1 week, 2 weeks, and 3 weeks after, because we wanna make sure we give you guys really good recommendations, right? So we know that if we have about 5,000 plants per acre that remain, we can have some potential yield loss with our new corn crop. So we wanna make sure when you guys are asking us what is the best option that we can give you a really good answer. So look back in a couple weeks and I will post a follow-up video to give you guys what we think is the best option here at our PFR site in Kentucky. If you like this video and you want to see more videos like this from me, you can text Lambert, L-A-M-B-E-R-T, to 733-337 to get updates throughout the season. Thanks!